Hi, if there's anyone there, if you can let me know whether or not you actually can see and hear me, that would be helpful. Okay, well, I'm going to assume I'm live. It says I'm live, so welcome. Okay. So I see that there are some viewers out there, but I have no idea who is there. So hello, and I must apologize in advance. I've got really bad allergies past week. So if I all of a sudden start sniffing and sneezing, you'll know why. So just waiting for people to come in. If anybody else is going to come, I'll just go over. Oh, hi, Sue. Thanks for saying something. I'm never sure if there's actually somebody real out there or not. So we're going to be using our brush for brushing away dust, etc. Going to probably be using a kneadable eraser. I'll leave that there. A Tombow eraser, possibly a brush, possibly a blending stump, and I've just got a an HB and a 4H pencil out. Probably I'll be using that and my kneadable eraser. So I'm just going to quickly go over the sketches that I've done in the last week or so. Well, a couple of weeks actually since our last. So these I've started joined a challenge where you're supposed to be doing the alphabet one a week. So starting with letter A and the letter B. So a couple of Sundays ago I did the African wild dog, and then I did the betta fish, and so those are those. And then this is our sketch from last Sketchy Saturday. Oh, hi, Kara. Thanks for joining. And thank you for saying you're here. So this was our little guy from last 2 weeks ago. And so this was my sketch. This is supposed to be a flamingo head. Another couple of landscapes that I did because I've been really struggling to think of subject matter the last couple of weeks and just not feeling terribly well with these allergies. So I've been kind of all over the place. This is a cat. This was a very quick greyhound running. And what else have we got? More landscapes. I seem to revert to these when I don't know what to do because they're just too easy, and I like them. Another landscape, and this is a little kind of a little test sketch of a bear cub in the grass, and I'm thinking about doing that as a actual drawing. So on that note, we'll get started for this week. I'll just get this together. See. There we are. So we're going to be doing this. I printed them out this time so that I wouldn't have to worry about a tablet going off and on. Sec. There we go. All right, we should be hopefully good. I think and hope that's in focus. So I'm going to do them this way actually this week. Let's get some water. And I'm going to try, don't know how it'll go. I'm going to try and do this as a relatively fast sketch. Let's see how quick we can do them. It's a pretty simple, very boxy, square kind of a shape. So I'm going to start by measuring out how long I want them to be. And I've got my actual picture right here, but if you don't, you can measure on your tablet or whatever with your pencil and you know, measure from the tip of the horn to the end of the tail. So I'm going to say he's going to be about this long. And probably I should put him more in the middle of the page, but that doesn't matter. So his hair, again, I'm going to start just by looking at the overall shape. So if I look at the overall shape here of this guy, this is very much a rectangle. This is a triangle. This is a rectangle, rectangles. So I'm seeing these shapes and I'm trying to judge approximately how long is the head compared to this, compared to this, compared to this. I always measure starting by the head length. So if we go in here, and if that's where his horn is, so his head is going to start somewhere in here. And it's very much of a rectangle. So I'm just going to do very lightly sketch in shapes to start with. Okay, then he's got kind of a curved neck. His neck is curved, but it comes down more or less in a triangle shape. And if I look at the length of his head compared to his neck, they're almost the same. The neck isn't maybe quite as long as the head. Then I'm looking at the length of the back, and I would say that's one. I'm not measuring it, I'm just eyeballing it, and I'd say it's probably 1 to almost 4 head lengths, 3.5 maybe. So here's 1, 2, 3, and I can tell he's already about the length that I want him. And then his body, if this is his head, and I'm comparing how wide is his body? His body starts, the belly starts around where the head starts. So I'm just going to make that shape coming down here. So that's that. And then we'll leave that for now, because we'll adjust that as we go. And then he's got ears. If I go too fast, or if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to be looking over at my screen every now and again. So his ear is here at the top. And the ear, this up so I can see it a little better. Looking at, just judging about how long the ear is, and that looks like it's pretty good. So now we're going to start doing a little bit of refining. Once I've got my basic shape in, I'm going to start to refine it. Now he's on the ground and his muzzle, his nose is on the ground. So that's going to give me a good idea how long his legs are. If we sketch in the ground, well, actually he's on a little bit of a hill, but so it's down a little bit lower there. But okay, so coming in down from his ear, which is a triangle shape, then his head comes right down and it comes down pretty straight. And then it starts to curve out. And then we've got the first horn, which is a little one. That. And then right beside it, we've got the bigger horn coming out right along. Something like that. It's got a rounded tip. It's not pointy. It comes, see, comes down, back down. And then you've got the muzzle coming out in a rounded shape. We've got the nostril. Slow down for a sec. Take some water. It's cold out there today. We actually had to put the heat on. So there's the nostril. The ground is kind of hiding that, but you can kind of see a little bit of a mouth here. And then his head comes back. Whoops, actually his mouth is a little bit closer to his nose. And then his head comes back, the chin area comes back on an angle. And you can see right under his eye. So his eye, we'll place that, and it is right at where the beginning of this horn is. It's not too far down, and it's very small. So they're kind of known for having these small eyes. But where the eye is, right below where the eye is, you can see the jawbone, the cheek, where the cheek is. There's a little shadow there. So you can kind of indicate that, and then it comes right up into this kind of a shape. Okay, so I'm just going to take a second while you guys catch up, and I'll erase my extraneous lines here so that they're not confusing. So you end up with a shape something like that. And actually his nostril is a little closer down here. So something kind of interesting about rhinoceros. There's several species. I think there's 5 different ones, but when I was researching them a couple of years ago, when I did a drawing of a rhino, and the 2 main ones are the white rhino and the black rhino, and they're, once I learned this, it's so easy to tell them apart. They look very similar, but white rhinos have their mouth where where their face comes down in a horizontal. This is like looking head on at them, whereas the black rhino comes down in kind of a beak-shaped mouth. So it's hard to tell this guy looking at him from the side, but I think he's got a kind of a beak-shaped mouth. So I think he might be a black rhino. It didn't say on the actual info. Okay, so just wanted to give you guys some time to catch up. So now I'm just going to make sure that I've got that neck is the right length. And I think that I did mine a little bit short, so I'm going to go up higher. He's got the big shoulder. So the shoulder on almost every animal, every 4-legged animal, the shoulder, this is the withers area, going to be directly over the legs, because in real life, this here is his shoulder blade, which is usually at a 45-degree angle on most animals. This way, the way he's shifted forward, it's more upright. You can tell the shoulder goes right along the line there of his body. You can see where it is. You can't anymore because I just drew over it, but if you're looking at your reference, you should be able to see that. So there's the shoulder. Comes back in a little bit of a dip. Shortish back. Comes to another kind of a little bit of a hump, and then comes down to the rump. And again, I'm going to leave that in case I need to adjust my proportions. Okay. So then his neck, so right under here where his shoulder is where I'm going to draw in this line directly underneath where that shoulder is. You can see, maybe I'll just let you zoom in just a little bit. Always afraid to touch my camera in case I totally mess it up. And I think I'm just going to try and focus. I think it's okay. Okay, so right under that shoulder, and almost the same kind of a shape, you've got that wrinkle over that front leg. So I've got that drawn in, and it's almost right even with this jaw bone. And then you've got the neck, which comes down in kind of these wrinkles and into the chest area, which goes between the front legs. So that first leg comes out. It's going to be the same length as the head. Like it's not, it's, it's going to end where the head ends. So you have to make sure that you've got it angled at the right angle that's going to give him the proper length. And then he's got a foot very similar to an elephant, big kind of a platform foot, and his foot is slightly raised a little bit. Narrower at the bottom than it is at the top. So you end up with something like that. Taking a sip of water and let you catch up. Okay. Then we're going to put that other front leg in, and it's going straight down. So got this. I'm going to just erase my rectangle lines so that they're not distracting. So his shoulder is up here. Goes for his neck, comes back into his chest, which goes in behind that leg. And the other leg is going to be on the other side of the chest, and it's coming down. It starts almost at the same angle, but then it sort of straightens. And at the bottom, it's a nice big kind of a platform. Something like that. He's got a big wrinkle here and behind his leg. Now this is obviously too low because the chest comes here, and this has to meet up with his chest. So you always want to make sure this line meets up with this line because it's a continuation. The chest needs to meet up with the belly. And he's got a pot belly, so he can come down rounded and then up. And where his belly comes up, it comes up right where you've got that little dip in the middle of the body. And it comes up almost straight. That gives you sort of an idea. Something like that. Okay. Then, okay, so this is looking good proportion-wise, I think. I'm just going to erase some things here and let you guys catch up if you need to. Okay, so that dips down and then it comes up a little bit, and then he's got these big round, this big round rump. The haunches area comes out. You can, if you look right here, you can see with the shadow and the muscle here, you can see how that comes out and around. It's it's not just a thin hind end. He's got a nice big muscle there, so we want to make sure that we kind of capture that. So this belly is going to come like that, and his leg comes down. That's his leg. And then as soon as it reaches the end of the belly, comes down in kind of a bit of a 45-degree angle, and then it comes down straight to the foot. And he is on a little bit of a slope, so a little bit deceiving here, but his foot comes down like that. Make sure that you get his legs looking thick enough to support his weight. So you don't want to end up with spindly little legs. So you have to judge the proportion. If you end up with a leg that looks like it's too thin, it probably is. So you can go in and thicken it, like this one here. It's okay. It could be maybe a little thicker down there. So coming out here, he's got this wider foot, and then his hock kind of curves up. and comes back around to meet that rear end. And I think I'm a little bit out of proportion here. Yeah, this is way too wide. Something maybe like that. Still not looking great. It's because oh, I know what I did. This does not come right straight down. It comes more on, it comes down straight for a second and then it comes forward. Something like that. That's better. So when you see something like that is really off, you may have made a mistake. And it's a good thing to go back in and check your reference and see if you actually got it right. Are you actually drawing what's there, what you're seeing, or what you think you're seeing? So that was obviously wrong, and my proportions on this leg are totally off, but that's how you would do it anyway. Then this other back leg comes out of the body right where, and other back leg comes out considerably. Oh, that's what the problem is. Sorry, I keep seeing where I know I'm making a boo-boo here, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. So it's his hawk is too high up. His hawk is quite a bit lower down. There we go. Quite a bit lower down. Gives him the room then to have that back end. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm going to blame it on the allergy meds. And this is a little bit pointy, doesn't need to be that pointy. And then that other back leg comes out right about where this thigh kind of has that muscle. You can see the muscle right there, and that other back leg comes out an angle down and then going straight, that big foot, and then foot comes up, walk is there, and that's totally out of proportion. Oh no, it's not too bad, something like that. And then he's got that little tail. And once you've got, you want me to pause for a minute for you to catch up, or am I good to go ahead? I'm going to go ahead. So once you've got your shape in, then we're just going to put them on some grass. And, well, actually, I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw in those toes. What toes I can see. I can see like a nail. Toe here. Something over here. And on this foot, he's got a little bit of a edge, and then this comes up. My pencil. Oh. And at the back, this foot is more or less covered by the hill. So we're not going to worry too much. Okay. Now we're going to give him some grass. Oh, sorry, Kara. You had to let, yeah, exactly. When you just drawing your shapes to begin with, that's why I don't finish drawing the shapes. I wait to go back and start refining some of the, this dip is too big. Shouldn't be big. Give them a more muscled hind end, but yeah, that's why I'll finish part of it and then I'll go back and start refining it so that I can see my measurements better. And often it ends up that I'm out proportion wise and I have to go in and fix that. So that's fine. Okay, so now we'll give him some grass. So I'm just kind of ticking in some grass here and going to cover his feet for the most part. So I'm just doing a tapered stroke, which is blunt at one end, and I lift the pencil up off the paper to give it a sharper point at the end. Cover his face too much, but just want to give him some ground to stand on, kind of thing. Now we're going to go in and refine them again with some shading. So I'm looking for the direction of the light. And it looks like the direction of the light is coming from over this way, because his hindquarters here are in the sun and the front part of his face is shaded. Let's get rid of that. And all under his belly from this edge is shaded. So, okay, starting at his head, front end of his horn. So I'm going to use my 4H pencil, which is going to be lighter. I'm not pressing hard. Scribble in some of the shading along his horn. This part of his, actually I better use the other to show up better. So this part is shaded. His nostril is maybe a little bit bigger, and his nose is actually right down into the grass. So, and just under here, he's got a little bit of thing. And then all along here, he's got a lot of wrinkles. Got a lot of wrinkles in his face. I know that not from this picture, but just from having looked at rhinos before. They've got a lot of wrinkles on their face. And here. So I'm just basically now very lightly scribbling in wherever I see any shadows, any dark shadows on the reference. So these are light shadows, so I'll scribble those in very lightly. He's got shading here, here. Anywhere that it's darker, I'll just either put more layers or a little bit heavier pressure. So it's really important that you get the shading exactly more or less where it's supposed to go. It doesn't matter if it's scribbles, it doesn't matter if it looks like real texture. All you're trying to do in a sketch is just trying to get basically the lights and the darks in the proper place, because that will then, so this here is not right here, that looks like it's not a shadow, it's actually the color of his horn. Okay, so his front leg is in deep shadow. In the back of his foot, on a diagonal going across, kind of like that. Deep shadow. His chest, quite deep shadow. Then this line should be lower for me. Then his belly area. You want to make sure that you're getting the ribs going in the right direction. So they're curving. They're not much curved, but you can see down closer to the belly that they're curving this way. So you want to make sure you're not going the wrong direction. So you're just going to very, very lightly scribble that, the shadings in. And again, because it's a sketch, I'm not going to count those ribs. I don't care how many ribs I get in because I'm not going for realism here. I just want to give a very, sketchy idea that he's got ribs. If it was a real drawing, I would be counting those and doing exactly how many ribs he's got. I want to make sure that I indicate this is quite shadowed. The front of his leg is quite shadowed. And if you're losing your lines because it's all blending in together, you can go back in and just darken up your lines just to make sure that you're not losing them. It's got quite a bit of shading here, just very light. These ribs go right back here. And the ribs are kind of important on a rhino. They seem to really always show up. So, sorry, I'm just going to catch up with the chat. Should we use the doctor pencil? So I'm just using my HB, a darker pencil. So yeah, I'm just using my HB, which is the softer pencil. I think that might be what you meant. So yeah, I'm just using the HB for a sketch. Usually for most sketches, I just stick to one pencil, which is usually the HB, because it gives me the ability to go pretty soft and pretty hard. And just back in the leg here. So the shading in this back leg is important to get that where you want it, where it actually is, rather than don't just shade indiscriminately, because it's the shading that is going to show you where the actual muscles are. So just something vague like that. This back leg is mostly in shadow all the way down to the front, bottom. Oh, he's got a lot of wrinkles in here that I'm not seeing. So I missed his wrinkles in here. Cheekbone. Wrinkles around his eyes. So we should end up with something that kind of looks like this. And then if you wanted to soften that, after you've got your shading all in place, you can go back in with your brush and just slightly go over the lines, just to very, very softly blend them. If your brush is dirty, you don't have to hardly touch. And if it's not dirty, then you might have to brush a little bit more to get some softening. Or you can just leave it without. It looks nice without too. Okay, so you end up with something that looks like that. But actually, I don't know if it's shading or if it's actually the color of his body, but he's darker up here. Okay. So that's it. That was a quick one. It only took us 35 minutes, so that's nice. So any questions about that? Looking at mine, I can see, yeah, I was going to say maybe his hind end is maybe not an exact proportion, but that's okay. So this will be the last Sketchy Saturday that I'm doing for the summer. He's got some little tassel kind of a thing, I think, on the end of his tail here. So I hope that you all have a fantastic summer, and I will keep in touch via my newsletter. I've got some things that I want to get done. It was a fast one, yeah. It was fast, but I hope it does. It look like a rhino, Kara? Does yours look like a rhino? Most of the time, most of my sketches take very little time. Most of them take less than 15 minutes, honestly. And this was a very easy shape to kind of do. So, but yeah, you don't want to be spending, unless you're doing a study to make sure that you're getting exact, you know, a pre-drawing study. If it's just a sketch, you want to go pretty quick. So, I'm not sure if you're going to say something. Anyway, if you want to send me your sketches by email or messenger, I'd love to see what you did. And if you've had any issues, any trouble with them, you can let me know that too. Oh, good, good. It looks like a rhino. Well, that's all that matters. So anyway, so I will see you. I'll see you too, I'm sure, and at some point over the summer. So you have a great summer too, Susan and Kara. I'm sure I'll see you around, and I will be in touch via my email newsletter. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.